I was on the short end of the stick on that one. So I looked at that and I thought, well, this is ridiculous.
She didn't just light up the screen, she owned it. But even sunshine has its storm, and when Goldie Hawn burns someone, it leaves a scar.
It's very difficult because I have a lot of ethics where those things are concerned.
For 6 decades, she played America's sweetheart. But off-camera, Goldie Hawn saw the darkest sides of Hollywood: egos, tantrums, manipulation. And while she stayed quiet for years, now at 79, she's not holding back. These weren't petty feuds. They were emotional landmines. Explosive clashes with actors who tested her patience, crossed boundaries, and in some cases, never made it back into her orbit. She doesn't name names out of spite. She remembers because she had to survive them. Foul Play, Overboard, Private Benjamin, The First Wives Club. Iconic films, but behind the charm and chemistry, tension was boiling. Goldie knew who brought the chaos, and she never forgot who made the work feel like war. And when someone crossed that line, Goldie didn't scream. She smiled and made sure it never happened again.
Well, then I'm leaving. I quit. And I picked up my bag and took my mesh tights and my fringed outfit and I left.
She's worked with legends, but only a few ever left her truly furious. The ones who didn't just clash, they cracked something. These are the 5 actors Goldie Hawn never forgave. And no, time hasn't healed it. Number 1, Chevy Chase. Some actors click, others collide. When Goldie Hawn met Chevy Chase on the set of Foul Play in 1978, sparks flew, but not the good kind. Chevy was riding high after Saturday Night Live, already known for being brilliant, difficult, and unpredictable. Goldie, coming off the success of Shampoo and Private Benjamin, was disciplined, beloved, and intensely professional. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable. Behind the scenes, not so much. Chevy once joked in an interview, "Goldie, she's cute, she's bossy too, but I'm used to that." Goldie didn't laugh. Off camera, their dynamic soured quickly. Chase was known to improvise wildly, often throwing off timing and tone. Goldie, who valued structure and rhythm, was repeatedly forced to recalibrate her performances. For someone who thrived on precision, the unpredictability wasn't funny. It was exhausting. A former crew member claimed Chevy would disappear between takes, show up late, or push scenes in a completely different direction. Goldie, usually warm with cast and crew, became noticeably guarded when he was on set. Director Colin Higgins had to step in more than once to ease the atmosphere. What should have been a light-hearted comedy felt like work under pressure. Later, Chevy reflected on the film with his version of events. "We made it work, even if we didn't always agree on everything." That was Chevy's spin. Goldie's response? Silence. She never spoke his name in interviews again. She never worked with him again, and according to insiders, she turned down a second collaboration in the mid-80s without a second thought. In a 2004 sit-down, when asked if a co-star ever made her regret taking a role, Goldie offered a rare hint at her frustration. "Sometimes you learn to carry the weight, even if someone else is adding bricks." Foul Play was a hit. Critics praised the chemistry, and audiences bought the act. But to Goldie, it wasn't worth repeating. Her performance was tight and focused, like someone keeping everything just barely in control. She never badmouthed him publicly. She didn't have to. The silence said it all. Meanwhile, Chevy's reputation for being difficult only grew. He clashed with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Terry Gilliam, and nearly every showrunner he worked with. His talent was undeniable, but the chaos followed him everywhere. Goldie didn't fight him, didn't feed the fire, didn't leave a trail of bitter words. She just walked away and never looked back. There was no feud, no tabloid scandal, just a quiet, permanent divide. Because for Goldie, it was never about ego. It was about energy. And Chevy's? She never wanted to be around it again. Number 2. George Segal. Not all clashes are loud. Some just slip through the cracks and stay there. That's what happened between Goldie Hawn and George Segal. They were cast together in The Duchess and the Dirtwater Fox in 1976. On paper, it looked like a dream pairing. Segal was riding high with awards and box office hits, and Goldie was fast becoming one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. But from the very start of production, the energy wasn't right. Segal, confident from recent success, had developed a habit of questioning scripts and directors. According to the production team, he sometimes arrived late, improvised lines, and resisted direction. Goldie, by contrast, thrived on preparation and timing. She valued precision, flow, and respect for the work. The result was friction that never eased. One crew member later said, "She kept it professional, but you could feel the distance between them. The chemistry felt uneven. Scenes meant to crackle with wit instead dragged. Goldie, who usually lifted a set with her energy, seemed unusually restrained. Behind the scenes, whispers began. The pairing wasn't working. Midway through production, the situation shifted. George Segal was replaced. Officially, it was for scheduling conflicts. But insiders pointed to mounting tension and a creative breakdown. Goldie never commented directly, but in a 1980 interview, she offered a telling line. "Some productions test your patience, and some just test your limits." She never said his name. She didn't have to.
And molto importante, to impresarunio molto importante Mormon.
Segal stayed silent as well. No blame, no defense. But after that, their careers never crossed again. Not in film, not in television, not even in passing cameos. It was as if both quietly agreed to keep their distance. Years later, when asked about choosing co-stars, Goldie gave a revealing answer. "I love people who bring joy to the work. If someone brings drag, it's not worth the paycheck." That wasn't bitterness. It was philosophy. Goldie built her career on surrounding herself with actors who added lightness and trust. With Segal, the balance tilted the other way. And once that happened, she closed the door completely. Segal went on to acclaimed roles in California Split, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and later the sitcom Just Shoot Me. Goldie kept building her own iconic path, from Private Benjamin to Overboard and The First Wives Club. Both thrived, but separately, each carving legacies without overlap. For Goldie, it wasn't about grudges. It was about energy. If a collaboration drained her, she refused to repeat it. That silence wasn't weakness, it was closure, and when she was done for good. Number 3. Bill Hudson. There are co-stars, and then there are wounds that follow you home. For Goldie Hawn, Bill Hudson wasn't just a performer from the Hudson brothers and an occasional actor. He was her ex-husband, the father of Oliver and Kate, and the center of a rift that never really closed. They married in 1976. Oliver arrived that same year, Kate in 1979. By the early 80s, the marriage had cracked, and the divorce followed in 1982. Goldie kept working, Private Benjamin, Overboard, the hits kept rolling, while her private life turned into something she refused to stage for cameras. She rarely spoke Bill's name. When asked, she pivoted to her kids, to work, to calm. The anger lived between the lines. The public didn't understand the depth of it until Father's Day 2015, when Oliver posted a childhood photo and wrote a caption that lit up the internet, "Happy Abandonment Day. I'll take it from here." That single line said what Goldie never said out loud. It hinted at years of distance, missed calls, and the kind of absence that shapes a family. Bill Hudson fired back in interviews, insisting he had been pushed away. In one widely covered response, he declared, "I set you free." Goldie still didn't counter. She kept it measured in public, focusing on the home she built with Kurt Russell starting in 1983, and on making sure their kids had stability that wasn't negotiable. Bill, for his part, detailed his grievances in a memoir and press appearances. The narrative split in two, but Goldie did what she always does. She chose silence over spectacle. Years later, the children tried to find their own language for the past. On radio and podcast spots, Kate spoke with a kind of hard-won peace, telling listeners, "I do forgive him." Forgiveness didn't erase the history, it just named it. And that's where Goldie's stance makes sense. This wasn't a feud built on one bad set day or a messy table read. It was years of strain, custody, headlines, holidays, the kind of weight that turns a private person into a fortress. Bill Hudson kept acting here and there, performing and appearing on television. Goldie kept building classics and a life with Kurt that still holds. Their careers moved forward on separate tracks, but the personal story never softened enough to meet in the middle. The lesson for Goldie was simple: protect the circle. No grand speeches, no public scenes, just a line she never let anyone cross twice. And that's why Bill Hudson isn't just a name from her past, he's the chapter she refuses to reopen. Number 4. Warren Beatty. Some pairings look golden until you feel the heat. Goldie Hawn and Warren Beatty worked together twice. First in Dollars in 1971, then in Shampoo in 1975. The movies worked. The dynamic was more complicated. Their first film felt like a test run. Sharp, stylish, 2 stars circling the same flame. By Shampoo, Beatty wasn't just the lead. He was also co-writer and producer, the engine of the whole machine. Director Hal Ashby sat in the chair, but everyone knew Beatty was steering. A respected retrospective later put it bluntly, Ashby agreed to direct Shampoo, despite knowing that Beatty wouldn't allow him much control of the project. That kind of dominance can stabilize a film or suffocate a co-star. Goldie valued freedom on set, the ability to move and breathe inside her role. Beatty, famously meticulous, was known for controlling every beat until it matched his vision. The push and pull gave Shampoo its sharp edge, but for Goldie, it came at a cost. Off camera, the lines blurred further. In her memoir, co-star Lee Grant revealed how Beatty's personal life spilled into production. She recalled how he romanced their co-star Goldie Hawn. It wasn't just gossip, it was part of the atmosphere. Attraction mixed with control created a current of tension that never quite went away. For Goldie, that energy wasn't sustainable. Years later, she admitted the magnetism was real, telling Andy Cohen that Beatty was so striking she worried her eyes might burn if she looked at him too long. He was so handsome that I didn't know if my eyes would burn inside my head if I looked at him. But charm and control don't always coexist peacefully. Beatty's intensity helped make Shampoo a critical and commercial hit, earning box office success and an Oscar for Lee Grant. Yet once the press tour wrapped, Goldie never signed on for a third project with him. For someone as pragmatic as Hawn, that silence said enough.
As long as I'm working in that shop, I'm always going to be doing too many hits.
What about me?
The truth is, both got what they wanted. Beatty cemented his legend as Hollywood's golden boy. Goldie added another hit to her resume, but she walked away from the orbit. She preferred collaborators who trusted the process without suffocating it. And Warren Beatty's world was always Warren's first. She never trashed him, never aired grievances, never reduced his talent. She just didn't return. 2 films together, 4 years apart, and then a quiet line drawn. For Goldie, that was enough. Because sometimes the loudest break isn't a fight, it's simply never answering the phone again. Number 5. Dustin Hoffman. Some rifts don't come from a bad day on set, they come from a choice to never share one. Goldie Hawn and Dustin Hoffman were giants of the same era. Oscars, box office, magazine covers, yet they never made a film together. That absence in Hollywood tells its own story. Hoffman's reputation was intensity first. He chased realism like oxygen, sometimes pushing partners and directors past their comfort zone. The legend from Marathon Man says he deprived himself of sleep to look wrecked for a scene. Laurence Olivier looked at him and delivered the line that became industry shorthand for "ease up." "My dear boy, why don't you try acting?" Goldie is the opposite kind of precision. She values timing, trust, and a set that breathes. Ask anyone who's worked with her, she protects tone. If the energy turns combative or controlling, she doesn't argue, she exits. And with Hoffman's style and the headlines that followed him, she had every reason to steer clear. On Kramer vs. Kramer, director Sidney Pollack and Hoffman famously locked horns over approach, and accounts from that shoot describe a process that was brilliant on screen and bruising off it. Co-star Meryl Streep later reflected on moments during that production and chose careful, pointed words about boundaries. He overstepped. That single sentence captures the divide. Goldie has spent decades championing relaxed, respectful sets, where spontaneity isn't licensed to rattle partners. She likes collaborators who leave room, not dents. When stories about Hoffman's behavior resurfaced years later, he issued a public statement meant to address discomfort he may have caused. His line was measured. "I feel terrible that anything I might have done could have put her in an uncomfortable situation."
Could. It's not perfect. I'm not a perfect parent. Sometimes I don't have enough patience.
None of this made Goldie loud. She never took aim at Dustin Hoffman by name, never chased a headline, never tried to relitigate someone else's process. She simply made a consistent choice. Keep her circle aligned with how she works, open, steady, generous, and avoid the chaos that can come with a different philosophy. The result is a clean record between them. No shared credits, no red carpet reunions, no "one time we almost" stories that studios love to leak. For 2 stars who could have headlined any studio comedy or drama in the late 70s and 80s, that gap is striking. It reads like a line drawn on purpose. Hoffman remains one of the defining actors of his generation. The Graduate, Midnight Cowboy, Kramer vs. Kramer, Tootsie. Goldie built her own list: Private Benjamin, Overboard, The First Wives Club, with collaborators who matched her rhythm. 2 careers, parallel lanes, never touching. Because sometimes the most telling conflict isn't a blow-up at all. It's the silence that comes from choosing never to meet in the frame. Goldie Hawn didn't slam doors. She didn't explode in public. She just smiled, stepped back, and never let certain people close again. Some actors burn bridges with words. Goldie burned hers with silence. It wasn't loud, but it was final. And for the 5 names we've just seen, that silence became permanent exile. So here's the question. Who do you think barely missed Goldie's hidden blacklist? Or maybe should have been on it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want the next round of Hollywood shadows and buried feuds, like, subscribe, and join the channel for the deeper cuts. Because in Goldie's world, forgiveness didn't always mean return. It meant goodbye. And sometimes her quietest choices screamed the loudest.